Imagine the most powerful military in the world, armed with stealth bombers, bunker-busting missiles, and aircraft carriers, and it still cannot guarantee victory against one country. Not because that country has a bigger army, not because it has more advanced weapons, but because the country itself is the weapon. That country is Iran. And in 2026, as strikes and counterstrikes filled the news, one question kept coming up that nobody was answering clearly. Why, after all this firepower, is Iran still standing? Why is it so hard to finish? The answer is not simple, but it starts with something that has been sitting on a map for thousands of years. It starts with the land. Iran is not a flat, open country you can roll across. It is a fortress built by geology. A series of heavily eroded mountain ranges surrounds a high interior plateau, and most of the country sits above 1,500 feet above sea level. In the west, the Zagros Mountains stretch for about 1,600 kilometers, running from the northwest all the way toward the Strait of Hormuz in the southeast. That is not a small hill. That is a mountain system the size of the Alps that stands between any land-based attacker and the Iranian heartland. In the north, the Alborz Mountains run along the Caspian coast, with peaks rising sharply from sea level. Mount Damavand, Iran's highest point, sits inside that range and reaches nearly 5,610 meters. These are not symbolic geographic features. They are real physical barriers that slow movement, break supply lines, and create ambush terrain that any military strategist fears. Then there are the deserts. The Kavir Desert, a great salt desert in north-central Iran, is one of the most inhospitable landscapes on Earth. Britannica describes it as a region with salt crusts, treacherous marshes, and almost no settlement in its interior. The Dasht-e-Lut in the east is similarly brutal, with extreme heat and terrain that can destroy vehicles, kill livestock, and exhaust any force trying to move across it at scale. These deserts are not empty spaces on a map. They are death traps for supply lines. And here is why that matters more than most people realize. Modern warfare is not just about killing power. It is about logistics. An army cannot fight without fuel. It cannot fight without food, water, ammunition, communications, and repair capacity. Every kilometer of bad terrain adds time, cost, and vulnerability. Iran has thousands of kilometers of it. A force trying to push into the country does not just fight the army, it fights the landscape. Then there is strategic depth. Because Iran is large, its important assets are spread across a wide area. There is no single border you can cross and immediately threaten the capital and the military simultaneously. There is no single bridge to bomb that shuts everything down. That forces any attacker to either spread out thin or move slowly through difficult terrain, both of which create serious military problems. Iran has also spent decades turning its landscape into a military advantage. It has built underground missile bases and what some analysts call missile cities, facilities that are buried inside mountains or deep underground to protect launch systems from airstrikes. El País reported in March 2026 that these underground missile cities are the key to Iran's ability to survive an opening strike and keep shooting. That is not a small detail. That is the entire logic of Iran's defense. If an attacker cannot destroy the launchers in the first wave, the war does not end. Iran can keep firing. And that uncertainty is one of the most powerful tools any military can have. Iran's missile arsenal in 2026 was one of the largest in the region. Reports described a range of ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, and drones designed for different targets at different distances. The missiles are not just weapons. They are leverage. They threaten cities, bases, and energy infrastructure across a wide radius, and force any potential attacker to factor in the cost of retaliation before making any move. That is the core of Iran's military doctrine. It is not designed to win a direct conventional war against a stronger enemy. It is designed to make that enemy pay such a high price that the war becomes more costly than any political goal is worth. Stimson Center reporting described Iran's approach as a coercive risk strategy, not flailing, not reacting randomly, but deliberately using escalation to raise the cost for its enemies.
Then there is the Strait of Hormuz. This narrow sea passage links the Persian Gulf with the Gulf of Oman and the Arabian Sea. Britannica says more than 20% of global oil and liquefied natural gas exports pass through it. Iran sits on the northern shore of that passage and has coastline, islands, and military infrastructure that overlook the shipping lanes. That gives Tehran the ability to threaten the single most important energy choke point in the world without needing to fire a missile at another country. In 2026, that leverage became real. Reports said traffic through the strait fell sharply as tankers rerouted, insurance premiums surged, and countries scrambled to find alternate routes. The White House even said publicly that reopening the Strait of Hormuz was not necessarily required to end the war, which is a remarkable statement that tells you exactly how complicated the situation became. Iran's geography and its control of Hormuz mean that any attacker does not only fight a war, it risks triggering a global economic crisis at the same time. That is one more reason full military victory over Iran is so difficult. The cost is not only in military casualties, it is in oil prices, shipping disruptions, and inflation that hits economies far from the battlefield. Then there is the problem of occupation. Even if an attacker destroyed every missile site and took the major cities, holding Iran would be a different challenge entirely. A large population, extreme terrain, dispersed geography, and a long history of resisting foreign occupation all make sustained control extremely difficult. The history of military campaigns in mountainous terrain with deep strategic depth is not encouraging for anyone who has tried it. So why is Iran so hard to attack? Because nothing about attacking it is simple. The terrain punishes movement. The deserts break logistics. The underground bases survive first strikes. The missile force can still fire after taking damage. The Strait of Hormuz makes every escalation a global problem. And the depth of the country means no single strike finishes the job. In 2026, the world watched as one of the most powerful military coalitions in the region kept striking, and Iran kept responding. That is not an accident. It is geography, strategy, and decades of preparation working exactly as intended.